here we are again, and I get to celebrate this book, this best-selling book, on part two, where we're talking about the specifics of what does it mean to live from the direct path. Who wrote that book? Is it me, the personal self? Yes and no. I did not have a desire to write a book, as I mentioned, and you have to listen to part one on the previous Thursday musing to see how I got into this book writing coaching group. It was a matter of following the energy of yes, not really thinking through logically, did I really want to write a book? Do I need a coach? Do I want to spend more money than I've ever spent on a course? Well, I guess graduate school might have cost more, but that was different. It led to a degree and it was a different time in my life. So, I mean, it's just I want you to see how the logic was not there. In a way, it seemed logical because I had a story for sure. I knew I had a story because I'd been living several years without suffering over Melissa's death. People who know me well know that I can cry about Melissa if we talk about something. It's the tears of being touched by the experience of her dying, being touched by the experience of her living, by being touched by all that happened to our relationship to resolve the bumps that we had. I had so many judgments over her, and you'll have to read this book if you want to hear the details. This is about something else. This is about, let me show you how it wasn't logical. I did not look up the website of Sarah Cannell and Thought Leader Academy. You're going to spend that much money, in my logical mind. You see, well, who is this woman? What are her credentials? What's the program like? I don't know. What does it entail? What do you get for your money? Getting. I would have, if it were logical and it was about the personal self, it would have been, okay, what's my book? Like, what's the name of it? What's going to be about? Which part of my experience? Then maybe I would have looked at other book coaches. This is a lot of money. I was pretty sure that not everybody charged that much. You know, maybe she's the best. Maybe she's for me. Wouldn't I look at other coaches, at other programs? Maybe there's a better program. Logic, compare, evaluate. Is it worth it? What am I getting here? What am I getting? Do you see? I hope that you see. I was led, and I was led by the movement, not by writing a book. It was a movement. Say yes to this. And then this could have been going to Africa, it could have been anything, but it's living by the movement. I know that sounds woo-woo, but it's actually quite simple and much less complicated than the mind's activities. When would I be done? Let's say I went on a research project to evaluate, should I write this book? Should I not write this book? Is it worth the money? Whatever. Is there someone better? When would I be done researching? I could still be researching it 2 years later. Yes, you could say, how wonderful. I followed the movement. I finished a book. I published a book and it's best-selling. You could go on that route. That isn't what happened. So I want to say something about intention. This is going to be tricky. Could you stay open-minded? Hardly anybody doesn't believe in intention. But there's something tricky about intention. I like the idea better of openness. So I'll give you an example. The reason I like openness is that intention includes the idea that you're open to this thing, this event, this experience. But it has a little bit of an additional that you're doing it, the separate you. And it also has a tricky part that we in the West, and I did not know this till I studied with a man from India who was very, very good with Western psychotherapists. I've said this before, but I could say it every time. He said, in the West, you love your goals, you love your intentions, you get high on them. They make you feel so good. I understand that. I can get high on that too. The I, the personal, imagined personality that feels, has sensations like I'm a solid, separate self. And I look this way, and I have this height, and this weight, and this color eyes, and lipstick, and blonde and white, and whatever. It appears that way. But a lot of things appear that are not exactly the way they appear. And you can come up with examples of that yourself. You can have an accident and 6 people see the accident differently, and so on. I'm not going to go down there with you. When we believe in the solid, separate self, there's no amount of proof that actually moves us off that. So I'm not going to spend time doing that. I really want to tell you more about the experience. So it looks like, yay, you, Rosalind, the separate self that did all this. But let me tell you what it was like. Instead of the intention to have a best-selling book, believe me, I thought of it because I am with Muse Literary, and they have a very high success rate with their authors getting best-selling books. They know how to do it with the algorithms. They know how to make sure that your book is up to snuff before it goes out there. We go through a very rigorous process with editors before we even get to Muse and before we get accepted by Muse and so on. So I could have intended that, but what the movement through me was to make sure that I was open to that, meaning that I didn't have any negative beliefs from the personality. Now, someone could say, Rosalind, you said there is no such thing as a personal separate self. Yes, but there is in my imagination, in my image of myself, in the thoughts and the feelings that go through. So if there are any residues of imagined shame, residues from the old personality, because if you've thought something for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 great years, you thought you were not good enough to some degree, that you should be better in this area and that area, in the sense of your worth. Not that so much the doing, but unworthiness, shame is like a soul judgment. It like your inner self just is not as good as other people or as the divine would have you be. So if there was, I made sure to notice, because I notice my thoughts and feelings. Are they residues? And if they are residues, I don't believe in them anymore, but I notice them so that I don't feed them. What does feeding mean? Let's just go down there for a minute, because I think people don't understand that exactly. We notice we've been looping on a subject going round and round, but what makes it a little mysterious is that it's not always the same sentence. So let's say I was having a residue of unworthiness. Then I might think, well, Muse Literary has a great track record, but it could stop with me. I did have that thought. And then how did I notice it? Well, I noticed, oops, that's a hurtful thought. That I don't have to do paragraphs anymore. I notice the oops. It's like if you're walking through snow and then you hit ice, you say oops or you feel oops. You don't need a paragraph or a study or a whole lot of thinking. You see the oops. That's how it is for me. Saw the oops, it's like, don't go there. It's the same thing I do. I don't go into nostalgia about Melissa unless I'm with someone like Melissa's sister or my husband or my sister. I will go there to join them. Isn't that a sweet picture of Melissa? Yeah, but then I found my favorite picture of her when she was about 4, before she was very chubby. And then I started to remember how I superimposed on her perfect little soul concerns about her weight. And I started to go down the rabbit hole. So you see, I could be the first one that doesn't get bestseller in Muse Literary, to Melissa when she was 4, and that adorable picture where I superimposed. Do you see how they have the same theme of not unworthiness? Different subject. So I went from the book to my writing. Well, maybe my book is not good enough. Maybe it's too esoteric. Maybe it'll get in the wrong hands. Maybe people will think it's just a children's book, because it is. The fable is written simply, so intentionally simple, so that I could convey non-duality without any jargon, without any words like awareness with a capital A or consciousness with a capital C. That doesn't mean my consciousness, my awareness as Rosalind, as the thinking person who has insight. These words confuse people who are not there yet, who haven't had the experience. So that's more about looping. So some people have said, and I'm going to be really far out here to just open up your thinking a little bit. Intention can breed tension. Well, that's not going to be really popular. But when you have intention, that sounds good. I intend this. But if it doesn't happen, what this Indian teacher said in India, in the far west India. That didn't make sense. But anyway, I'll just go on. And that's another one. I could go into perfectionism and try and change that sentence, get someone on my team to get rid of that. No, that's okay. It's fine. Mistakes are fine. Okay, so back to what I was saying. He said, you love your goals, you love your intentions, you love getting high. But what you don't connect it to is how you feel when it doesn't happen the way you intended. You're just not good enough. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't make it happen. Or your consciousness is not high enough. You don't connect, he said, your judgment with your control. Intention, the way it's used in some new age spiritual communities, it means that kind of manifestation where it's this or something better. Well, guess what? The world is full of better and worse. So not everything works out. Not everything goes smoothly. Not everything is in the flow. And the flow meaning the way I would like it, the way it works out easily. The flow is from the divine, the flow, and it's not personal. You're getting a goodie because you're better, and you're not getting a goodie. You get cancer or something else because you're not good enough. No, that's all from the place of the personal point of view. That's our interpretation. Do you think the divine has a judgment of rain over sun or sun over a storm or something else? It's all energy. It's only our point of viewing that decides what's better, what's worse, what's good, what's bad. So let's get back to the book. I was open to having a bestseller, and I was vigilant to see that there were no blocks. All that I had to do was not start any insecurities about the book, about my writing, about me, about my worth, about anything. It's not hard. If our goal, there's the word goal, because we're limited in words. If we don't want to go down the rabbit hole of suffering, then following the movement, following the yes or the no, is not about an outcome. It's not about the best-selling book. What it was about, it wasn't even about the writing. I know that might sound really strange. I didn't do the writing the way many in our group did. Many of our group had, what did they call it? Accountability partners. And you would say, I'm going to write an hour a day. I'm going to write 8 hours a week. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I was not coming from the personal self. I don't know how the book got written, and it got rewritten. And my editor said to me, I'm so proud of you for rewriting, because we got to a place where she was the perfect editor, because she said she needed the information for her reasons. I won't share them here because I don't have permission, but they were very specific reasons. But she said, it's just dense. Because I was writing the way you write in graduate school. And It's not a conversational way. And I was teaching too much. I wanted so much, so many things to convey. So it had to be narrowed down. I actually didn't decide to rewrite it. Something happened one day and I just started over. I didn't know what I was doing. And those were the next 20 pages I sent to her. Oh, I started over. So do you see, I was moved, but without, it's always a yes or a no to what's happening. And sometimes it's a no, and it's just my personality just lagging behind a little bit. But chances are I'm going to do it. As soon as I notice how my silly no there again, because it wasn't my idea. It was out of my range of ideas or whatever. Sometimes we're asked to do things that are outside of our box. Sometimes we're taken not on a straight road, we're taken on a curvy road. So there was a certain time that I was in this TEDx group, which is how I met Sarah. I had a TEDx proposal. I had a team member who was sending it out. You send it out to about 100 places, and that's the average. I think it's 80 before you get an acceptance. And I was at about 25 when I got, again, another feeling. I didn't understand it, but it was like, that's not quite the message yet. Take it down. I'm not that into it. It just doesn't feel right, but I didn't have what was right. So I just took it down. I think I lost some money because I think I paid for her to put out 50 proposals and she only put out 25. But that wasn't, I didn't evaluate it from my personality. I could have let her send out 25 more and gotten my money's worth. But the message was take it down. So I took it down. And now you could say, well, maybe I was in the TEDx group to meet the person for the book. And now it feels like today, I think I got the idea for how to tweak that idea in the new way. It feels exciting. It feels, oh, this is what I could see being on a TEDx stage saying. Why? Not because I want to be on a TEDx stage, not because I need to be on a TEDx stage, not because I, the personality, want to be on a TEDx stage. It's because that idea, it's about belonging and how shame, a belief in unworthiness, keeps us from belonging. So I hope that this video today gives you more specifics, gives you more of a feeling for what it's like to live from the movement, which still includes an awareness of an image of a separate person, but without the belief that the separate person runs the show. And even if my book never got finished, or I died before it got out, and even if it wasn't a bestseller, my work with the editor, my work with the publisher, my work with the designer for my website was enough. Was enough because each piece feels like it had to be. And the experience was like out of my control. The website is so much more beautiful. I didn't have a vision. I mean, yes, I cooperated. I wrote the material for the website. Did I look for a website designer? Did I interview other people? Did I see who could be less money? I didn't do any of those things. It was go to this person. Yes, the person was recommended, but about 10 other people I heard of, and the web is right there to go interview people and see and so on. But following the yes and the no, do you see how it's less complicated than following the mind? Now, those of us who are still worshiping the personality, and I've been there most of my life, we do all those things. But how do you know you wouldn't have ended up with the same one that you ended up with just by following the movement? So we can add in all the looking, all the thinking, all the whatever from the personality. And if it's true that there is something bigger than us, then it's always there. And we're pawns. We're pawns in the big picture. And in the little picture, it seems like we have a choice. It seems like we have a choice in the big picture too. And if you're busy manifesting and with your goals, just notice if you're taking all the credit, but you don't want the blame and the suffering for when you don't get it. It's an awfully painful way to live. Yes, there are highs, but we flip back and forth. And for most people, even if there are more highs than lows, the lows really hurt. If it's the movement, then there is a natural acceptance. You could say, I wasted the money being in the TEDx coaching, but I don't see it that way because I was supposed to be there. I hope you're getting it. I'm not saying it's a better way to live. I'm saying it's easier. It's very controversial. It's very iconoclastic. I wish I was a believer in a way, because I mean, it's fun to have the popular ideas and people don't look at you like, what are you talking about? That looks so bizarre, sounds so bizarre. I mean, I've always thought it was fun to be in the front and center of the popular ideas and people in middle school and whatever. Never have been, never will be. It's not really what I want because I am who I am and I'm being used the way I'm being used, but I can see the fun of it. And I do have dear friends that are writing books on manifesting and your power as the controller of your destiny. And I love them. And I'm not saying my way is better. It just makes sense out of Melissa dying. It makes sense out of some people getting cancer or having serious physical conditions. Not everybody's going to be tall. Not everybody's going to be short. Not everybody's going to be thin. Not everybody's going to be fat. This is a universe of differences, of opposites. And there is something that is always the same. So let's just for a second step back and do that exercise from the book. When you were 4, you had interests that are different from today. You played with different things. Your mind was different. Same at 10. You wanted different things. You played with different things. You had different thoughts. Same at 15. But there was a you that was the same you at 15 as 4 and 10 and 15. And there's a you that's always been continuous. And that you is the background of experience. It's not the experiences, because your body changed, your mind changed, your thoughts changed, your feelings changed. But there's a quiet, unnameable something that has always been you. And that belongs to the field. And I want to read what Rumi wrote, out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. There is a field. I'll meet you there. And therein lies the oneness. Thank you. Bye for now.